Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Chats with Chaudhry. I hope you're safe and well. The sun is going down outside my window here in the UK, but I'm delighted to be joined by two guests where the sun is shining, I think, where they are. And we are continuing on my Reflections and Forecast interview series that I'm doing this month with leading figures across the industry to get their feedback on how 2021 went and their predictions for 2022. And I'm delighted to be joined by SLAS's incoming president, hopefully that's correct, Tim Spicer, and who also works for the Scripps Research Institute, and Vicki Lois, who is the CEO of SLAS. And they're going to talk to me a little bit about their views on the past 12 months and what their thoughts are for this year. And also give a quick preview on the upcoming SLAS 22 event in Boston, because we can't not talk about that, as I've got them both here as well. So Vicki, Tim, it's lovely to see you both. How are you both?
Great, great. How are you?
I'm very, very well. And so just very quickly, Tim, I know you're calling in from Florida. Vicki, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from our headquarters office just outside of Chicago.
Oh, right. Fantastic. So there is a bit of a time difference even with you two then. So here we go then. So my very first question for you guys before we start talking about your thoughts on last year is, for those who are not familiar with SLAS, would one of you mind giving me a quick overview of who SLAS are and what you do?
Absolutely. I'm happy to take that. So for those of you who don't know the full name of what SLAS stands for, it is the Society for Laboratory Automation and Screening. And SLAS has been SLAS since 2010, when it was the result of a merger between the Association of Laboratory Automation and the Society of Biomedical Sciences. So we are an organization that serves both the sides of discovery and technology in life sciences research. We are a global organization with 19,000 members of our community, predominantly in North America, but about 30% of that membership is also resides in Europe. And we have products and events for all of those audiences, and wherever you might lie within your career trajectory. So whether you're just entering this space in your career, or you've been around for a while, or anywhere in between, our job is to help you do your job.
Fantastic. What a great overview, Vicki. I feel excited. I feel I should be signing up straight away because of that. So thank you
Absolutely.
very much. Right. So my first question about 2021 is a really simple one, or maybe it isn't. Let's start with you, Tim. How would you describe 2021 in one word and why?
Challenging, obviously. We had to adapt to a pandemic that was already going on for a year, and at least with SLAS anyways, that involved learning how to deal with hybrid events, or even just full-on virtual events, such as last year's 2021 International Conference. So yeah, as attendees and as participants, all around, we had to deal with those things from not only the society's perspective, but also folks like myself that are in academia and industry.
Right. And what about you, Vicki? How would you describe 2021?
I would say chaotic. Much for the reasons why Tim outlined why it was challenging. I think in 2021, we certainly had a better understanding of the impact of the pandemic and when we would be able to make adjustments, whether it is staying in a virtual environment or going back to some type of an in-person environment. And very often, as we were putting together plans and executing on those plans, things would have to change. Sure. I think everybody experienced that. And so there was a lot of just changing the way we thought about doing the work that we do, in that we simply had to prepare for the fact that we were going to have to sort of turn everything on its head the next day. And you never really knew exactly when that would happen. But we've gotten pretty good at that. So, I certainly would love for chaos to not be part of our everyday work sometime in the future, but it is our reality. And that's how we had to adapt. And I believe we have.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you for that both. And it's funny, actually, one word which has come up, not as the to reflect the year maybe, but which has been used a lot over the last 24 months is the word pivot. And I've never heard that word so much as I have in the last 24 months, how
Yeah,
people have pivoted. So there you
for
go.
sure.
Right. Now, you've already, both of you answered a little bit about this, but how did the pandemic impact the business last year? So Vicki, do you want to start with you're talking specifically about SLS, and you've already touched upon it, I think, to a degree.
Sure. So, as Tim mentioned, we had to convert our flagship event to a digital event. We were luckier than a lot of other organizations in that we had a lot of time to plan for that because of the timing of when the pandemic happened and when our event takes place. Nevertheless, changing an in-person event that goes over 3 days, that's generally somewhere around 6,000 people, 300 exhibiting companies, to being 100% digital and still bringing value to those exhibitors as well as the attendees is no short order.
Sure.
There is also just as much work that has to go into producing a digital event as an in-person event. I think some folks believe that digital is easier, but in fact it isn't. So, making those changes early on in 2021, and we started preparing for that in the middle of 2020, and experimented with doing digital events right off the bat and learned a lot of lessons from it. The other part of 2021 that we saw that we needed to really focus on was how to keep our community engaged with each other and with SLAS when we couldn't see each other face to face. And so making sure that we were creating touch points for community members throughout the year, just to sit down and have chats, online chats with SLAS or with each other. And I mean, we did everything from highly detailed scientific topics to having a meetup on beer making. So it really was about making sure that connectivity stayed in place for us. Operationally, I'm very happy to say, and I will be saying this again during our conference in February in Boston, SLAS weathered this storm from a financial standpoint very, very well. We were very well positioned going into the pandemic to be able to manage through this. I'm happy to say that we did not have to pause or suspend any of our programs or services as a result of the pandemic. We didn't have to do any elimination of positions as a result of the pandemic. So we've maintained our strengths, and we know that we can continue to grow and maintain that strength as we're in what I now consider a recovery period.
Fantastic. And Tim, what's your thoughts on the last 12 months in the pandemic? Maybe more from an industry perspective, as Vicki's covered sort of SLS pretty thoroughly there.
Yeah, so I think it depends a lot on the space you're in and what type of work you're doing. My work is very academic in a lot of ways, but it's an industrial screening lab that I oversee. Some of the good things I think that happened with the virtual conferences and the hybrid conferences is we learned how to engage in a good way, a very positive way, remotely, right? So not everybody loves to travel. And I guess we learned that we don't always have to have that direct face-to-face interaction in order to get the content across. And I certainly had great feedback from the international conference, as well as some of the symposia that we did as hybrid events, from folks that really loved the presentations and got a lot out of that. We're able to bring in key players from around the world pretty easily, where that would be costly and maybe sometimes impossible to do. So
sure.
I think folks are itching to engage on the science and even on the automation side of things. And it gave us a chance to do that remotely, I think was the real positive out of it. And now we know how to do it pretty darn well, as Vicki said. So I think working with the team to get that to happen was also a good learning experience overall. So yeah, some positives for sure.
Fantastic. I think actually, looking back, because I work with a lot of event organizations as well, I think what it has done is encourage people to be more creative and look wider in terms of how they communicate with their members. Whereas before they were relying very much on email and then the live events, they've had to become more creative And that's created lots of new opportunities, I think. And also, as you said, I think, Tim, quite rightly, yeah, it does open the door to people who perhaps can't travel for financial reasons or whatever reason it may be, logistic reasons. And it just opens the door for them as speakers and as attendees. And you have the on-demand thing, obviously, which is great as well, because they can access that information after the event as well, or during it. So that's brilliant. Well, look, one thing I was going to ask you then is, I know you've had a lot of stuff going on in the last 12 months, Vicki. So what are some of the things that you're most proud of in the last 12 months? And I'm sure there's lots.
Oh yeah, there is a lot. I absolutely am very proud of us being able to present SLAS 2021 in a digital format. I think it was really an outstanding event. We were able to engage with a global audience. And as Tim said, people who maybe couldn't have attended the event previously were able to participate. So that's something that I'm incredibly proud of. On the non-conference side, we launched in 2021 a micro-credential. And this micro-credentials are really kind of like small burst learning opportunities. Right. So and we will be continuing to launch additional micro-credentials over the course of the year. This gives everybody, you don't have to be a member, the opportunity to take in some very specific learning topics on in a very specific area, right. Do some assessing at the end, and then you are presented with that micro-credential certificate. They're great ways for people to be skilling up. If you are in your early or mid-career trajectory, and you're looking for ways to skill up, and you're looking for ways to be more valued in your workplace, to make that move further up in your workplace, take a look at these and see if there are some opportunities there for you to do just that.
Brilliant. And Tim, what about you then? Because I know you actually chaired one of the symposiums, didn't you, last year? That was, I can't remember whereabouts. Was it San Jose or somewhere? It was in California, if I remember correctly.
That's right, San Diego.
San Diego, right? So I was slightly, yeah.
No, thanks for bringing that up. I mean, there's a lot of things to be proud of in addition to that. So that was the Building Biology in 3D Symposium that we did in San Diego, which was a hybrid symposium, and co-chairing that was just a really fun thing to do. And it actually reminded me of some of the speakers that we brought in from afar, that presented virtually. But we also had the direct engagement with exhibitors again, and we also had engagement with the speakers too. So yeah, that was incredibly rewarding. Very proud of that event for SLAS, and even myself, obviously, because that's the space that I work in quite a bit with new technologies. Sure. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I have another role with SLAS as associate editor of one of the two journals. So there's SLAS Discovery and SLAS Technologies, both great journals for really early drug discovery and even beyond, now approaching sort of even early clinical research in those journals, particularly with the automation and technologies built for technology, but also the biology and the sciences and the chemistry for the discovery side. And there, I think we did a really nice job of sponsoring special issues in discovery around SARS research, and very proud of the fact that I think our scientists, our contributors, members of our society, and well beyond that worldwide, put together some really nice work to affect outcomes in SARS. So I think we had a real positive impact on humans that way in this pandemic. So I'm very proud of that.
Well, great. And that actually,
it's important to mention, both of those journals are now open access as of January 2022. So another big change for us. Yeah.
Well, we'll put the links to those journals on this post as well, so people can find out more about those.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, fantastic. And actually, that is a perfect segue, I have to say, to my next question. And we didn't even plan this, so this is how perfect this interview is going, which is, what development stories and trends stood out for you this year? And Tim, I've got to start with you, given that you're an editor as well then for a magazine, because you must have loads of great trends and stories that you can think of that happened this year.
Yeah, so I just mentioned the SARS story, which was a big one, but continuing on with the trends in building biology and more physiologically relevant models of disease has been a big impact for us. But more importantly, we're trending very heavily toward AI and really those initiatives, and building symposium around those as well in our journals, in the symposium, in the contents now that you'll see at SLAS 2022 and beyond, actually. So those are key developments that we're pushing into new areas around, pulling in the right key thought leaders from around the world to help lead those sessions and generate the audience interest that we hope to convey to folks worldwide.
Brilliant. And Vicki, have you got anything to add to that?
From my standpoint, I would say it comes very much more from the managing of the organization. And we've had to think and operate very differently in 2021 in how we work and how we manage this organization. So, I've made some adjustments in a lot of our work from home policies where that's become far more flexible and adaptable to our staff's needs. We were already in a bit of a hybrid format pre-pandemic where we did have some staff working from home on a regular basis anyway. So we were set up to make it successful, but we needed to ensure that our culture also adapted to the idea of when work happens and where it happens, and that can be in an incredibly flexible format and still be very, very effective.
Brilliant. Well, my last question related to 2021 is really, are there any areas that you think the industry, and I mean the life science industry, not necessarily, events, could have done better, and how? Anyone like to kick that off?
Yeah, I guess, with all the nice things that we're saying, there's still an opportunity to improve on learning how to adapt to the pandemic, right? And maybe it's too bold to say, but we just need to learn how to live with it, right? And move on to do what we can do best while being safe, right? Not compromising the safety that is possible, but definitely adapting quicker, sooner, better. It's a big change for everybody. So I guess just being able to change and move is probably the one thing I think we might be able to improve on.
Sure. Vicki, have you got anything to add to that?
No, I would just echo what Tim said. From what I've heard from other members of our community, is that it's a constantly evolving process. That we're learning from things that were forced upon us and adapting.
Fine, brilliant. Well, let's look ahead to 2022 now. So let's start with you, Vicki. I mean, what are some of your predictions for 2022 in terms of the industry itself?
So in terms of the industry, I do think that 2022, like I said earlier, is going to be sort of a recovery, rebuilding year. We will continue to see variants emerge, and we are absolutely taking on this attitude of we have to figure out how to live with this. So I think we're going to see the life science community continue to adapt and be better at the work that they do. So much was learned over the last 2 years in being efficient and maybe throwing out some of the old ways of doing things. And I truly believe that is going to be implemented on a more regular basis across the industry. We will see the same thing happen within SLAS as an organization. This is going to be a rebuilding and recovery time as we continue to go back to in-person events. And it's something that I'm very excited and looking forward to.
Fantastic. And what about you, Tim?
Yeah, along those same lines, my role is to help Vicki and her team rebuild or maybe regain the momentum that we had even before the pandemic, right? So as we approach Boston 2022, I'm going to be there. Parts of my team are going to be there for sure. It's going to be very, very nice to interact with people in a safe way, right? At a safe symposium or a conference. And yeah, I'm just really excited to try to push back into normalcy as much as possible and get back to where you can have the direct handshakes with the exhibitors and see the automation up close and personal and touch and feel the things that we're so used to doing before, because virtually it is difficult to actually get that great exposure to certain things that you need to see.
Sure.
And certainly the exhibit it's hyped, it's a buzz, when you're there. So I'm I'm excited for that. I got a little bit of that buzz last year virtually, but I can tell you I'm way more excited about person this year. So.
Sure, right. And let's talk about the sort of lab automation as an industry then. Well, what do you see in terms of developments within the lab automation sector, particularly around drug discovery going forward?
Yeah, I guess maybe I could take that one first, Vicki, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Some of the reader technologies are phenomenal now, and they're becoming they're becoming bigger, better, faster, and cheaper than they ever were. So the high content modalities in particular are very exciting, along with some unique biologies that can now be converted to what I would call high throughput, high information technologies. Of course, the data centers that have to support all that and the AI that's coming to fruition very, very quickly is all going to be showcased. So those are very exciting initiatives. Of course, the automation itself with COVID and speaking with some of the key leaders across the world, Thermo Fisher, for example, and Hans Georg Hans, I know their business has blown up, meaning they're just getting tons and tons of orders
Sure.
to help with this, which makes sense if you think about it from how do we solve issues in supply chains. Well, you need automation, and you still need that in the biotech sectors that we work in. Same thing elsewhere across the world. So very happy to relay that to you.
Fantastic. What about you, Vicki?
I'm really looking forward to seeing how the lab automation industry takes the lessons that we learned from COVID and adapts it to other areas in science. One of the things that I know we've kind of been talking about around the edges here over the last 2 years is science did an amazing job in identifying a virus and figuring out how to test for it and then creating a vaccine in about 10 months time. And I don't know that there's ever been a case of that kind of speed in addressing a disease. So how do we use all of those things that we did? I mean, clearly there was a lot of this is the way we always do it that was thrown out the window, and new ways were developed to ensure that we were bringing technology to the public that was effective. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those new ways of doing things get adapted to other disease areas.
Brilliant. Now let's talk about SLAS itself, though. So what can we expect to see from SLAS in the next 12 months?
Well, first and foremost, in just about 3 weeks here, we will be opening SLAS 2022 in person in Boston, February 5th through the 9th. And let me say this again, we are going to be in person in Boston. I know we're right in the throes of Omicron peaking in the United States, and this is creating some concern. There's a lot of chatter going on out there. A little bit of the rumor mill is happening, and you're getting it from the horse's mouth. This event is happening in person. Our registrations continue to come in every single day. We have over 300 exhibiting companies on our floor. We are absolutely thrilled and delighted to bring this event back to an in-person format. We're doing it with as many safety protocols as we can. To attend the event, you do have to show that you're fully vaccinated. We are going to require masks throughout the event, and there will be COVID self-tests available should anybody want to take one of those. So we're doing everything we can to make this a safe event, but also to make it just exactly what everybody is used to expecting from SLAS's International Conference, and that is a very dynamic and exciting exhibit floor, some really, really interesting and cutting edge science. And this year at SLAS 2022, we're going to have something a little different. We have one of our featured speakers is Raven Solomon, who's going to be talking about unconscious bias in the workplace. And this is totally new for us to be doing. I'm really, really thrilled that we are bringing this to the SLAS audience. There's also going to be a very special, very big announcement at the beginning of that presentation. A little teaser there, so everybody, you're going to want to tune in and attend that event.
That sounds very, very exciting. One question though to you though, for those people who, for whatever reason, can't make it live, though, will there be a virtual element to the event as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a hybrid event, so there is a virtual component where people will be able to participate online. Many of the events are being live streamed. We're setting up opportunities with our online audience to have special exclusive Q&A time with speakers, so not always having to compete with that in-person audience. There's a virtual exhibit floor as well. So if you are not able to travel, and we understand that that is the case for many people, we really do encourage you to register for the online component of the event.
Well, I have to say, I really am hoping that Omicron peaks in the next week or so I can get on a plane and come to Boston, because I read the New York Times yesterday and they said that they think it might be peaking. I can only have my fingers crossed and hope that's the case, and then the numbers drop, because that would be the first event I'd be able to go to in the States in over 2 years, though. So it'd be quite exciting to go.
Oh, that would be fantastic. We'd love to see you there.
I'd love to be there, honestly. So, well, Tim, what about from your perspective? I mean, what exciting things are you looking forward to from SLAS in this coming year?
Yeah, no, Vicki rounded it out really nicely, obviously. So for me, I think you can expect to see more great science combined with cutting edge technology. So, you know, that's the premise of what we do and how we want to put it out there. And there's no doubt, I think everybody's been anxious to present at a very high level at SLAS at the conference that's coming up. We have future symposiums that are coming up. We're going to be in Dublin in Europe, Dublin in May. So that's that's what the future looks like for us. You know, we're going to continue on and hopefully re-engage more and more with more people over time to look at great science combined with great technologies.
Fantastic. And what a great strapline that is. So I'm going to remember that as well. So Vicki, Tim, it's been lovely to see you both. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on last year and your thoughts for this year. I really wish you to have a fantastic build-up, because the build-up's always the toughest bit, actually, I think, for any event, to make sure everything is right. But once the show floor is done and the conference is ready, it's always fantastic to think what a great effort you've all put in to get to that space. So I wish you a fantastic build-up to the event, and a fantastic event, of course, in February and for the rest of this year as well. So thank you very much for your time and sharing your thoughts with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
It's been great. Now,
in person.
I look for, well, I certainly hope so too, actually, Tim, honestly. And I will have my orange bright trainers on to represent the Hurricanes when I see you, so don't worry. So, and there you go, viewers. I hope you found that interesting. If you've got any thoughts or comments to what Vicki or Tim mentioned today, then feel free to put them in the comments below. I'm sure they'll be only too happy to see them. If you'd like to know more about the events that SLAS are doing and the other services that they do, where they do lots and lots of other services to help the industry, then please check out the links, which will be above the video, so you can click through and find out more. And obviously, if you want to register for SLAS in Boston, if you haven't done so yet, whether live or virtually, then the link will be there as well, so you can register for that as well. So all that stuff for me to say finally is, Tim, Vicki, thank you very much. Have a fantastic 2022 and a fantastic SLAS 2022. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye now.